Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are currently doing our transfer burn to get over to Jewel for an insertion to Bop. And as you can see, we are burning out our core stage right now, and we will be momentarily switching over to our interplanetary transfer stage right about now. Okay, I'm also going to go ahead and burn off our monopropellant here to make this a little faster. And I'm also going to go ahead and physics warp at this point, now that we are using our nuclear engine. It is much safer. With the other engine, it likes to bend 90 degrees with this rocket model. So, that's, useful. Okay, so we will be there momentarily. Well, I say momentarily. We've still got a relatively lengthy burn to go here. We'll be finishing off our monopropellant soon, though. And we will just continue burning off as much as we need to here. So once we get here, we are going to be circularizing a little bit-ish. Just want to put our apoapsis in between these two orbits for now. And then we are going to match planes. Our monopropellant is now out, so I'm going to go ahead and ditch the RCS. Don't need that on. And we've got ourselves another 14-minute burn here. Fantastic. Yeah, I do know that there are more efficient transfer stages in terms of time, but the atomic motor is awfully weight efficient. Not having to bring oxidizer, it's, in my opinion, second only to the electric propulsion system, the Dawn, but the thrust to weight of that is so pathetic that I really, really don't want to use it. So here we are. We've got ourselves another 12 minutes of burn left. At 4x, of course, that will be, more like 3 minutes of burn. So that's not too bad. We're coming in at a decent inclination, but we're going to have to change our inclination pretty heavily. We'll set Bop as our target, except that wrecked our maneuver node. So there's that. Probably shouldn't have done that. Gonna go ahead and recreate this. Must be in the same sphere of influence. Wait, what are we in the sphere of influence of? Oh, right. I need to set Jewel as the target. What am I doing? Okay. Why can I not select Jewel? Jewel. Set as target. Create node. There we go. Okay, do we have the correct directionality here? We are exiting over here. So we do not need to modify this a little bit. Where is the node at? Here. Here's the node. Okay, we need to do that. Place this node somewhere around... Oop, that's too far. Somewhere around here. And now not mess it up. Execute that node. Yeah, I realize that you recommend starting Hohmann transfers from a near circular orbit, but this is fine. This gives us basically exactly the same in terms of what we're looking at, delta V-wise, where our periapsis is, all that. And we are going the correct direction, so that is fantastic. We're just going to do a braking burn right here, change our inclination, probably not at the same time. The real question is, does MechJeb feel like it can find us an encounter with Bop this time? I don't know why it failed before, but whatever. Getting an encounter with Bop isn't the hardest thing, it's just MechJeb speeds up the process a little bit. Okay, so we've got ourselves 6 more minutes here for this burn. Not too shabby. As far as future missions go, the next mission is almost certainly going to be another rover mission unless we get a shorter duration probe mission, because we do have that contract to drop a rover onto Lathe. Now we're probably going to use the same model of rover that we landed on Duna on Lathe. Lathe has a thicker atmosphere, I think, but it starts pretty low. So we're going to definitely need to have some form of powered landing. I don't think we can rely entirely on parachutes the way we did on, for example, Eve. So I think that's going to be the next mission, unless there's a contract that I don't know about, which there probably is. So the next thing that we're going to be doing here in about 2 minutes is we're going to start a warp over here, and in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and create a braking maneuver. So that will be, you know, deeply exciting, like everything on my channel. My channel is just high octane all the time. I don't understand how people watch it. It's just too exciting. Maybe I should, like, make this channel a little bit more boring? I don't know. Anyway, what we are going to be doing right now is warping to here. There we go. And while we're warping, I'm going to go ahead and, at this periapsis, add a retrograde maneuver. And we are going to just brake a lot. There we go. We are now in Julian orbit. Cross that orbit there. That'll be fine. And now I just want to move this over. Come on, give me the delay orbit option. There we go. Or the delay maneuver option. I want to move it right about there-ish. And maybe burn a little bit radial. Anti-radial. No, radial. That is correct. And maybe a little prograde. Yeah, something like that. That looks good. And we will be going the correct direction. Yeah, that looks fantastic, actually. Maybe just slightly more prograde. Yeah, I don't hate that. Let's see, maybe bring the periapsis in slightly. Yeah. I like that. I like that orbit a lot. And then from there, we'll be able to change our inclination. And let's go ahead and execute that node. Turn over to the maneuver node, and then warp on in. We've got ourselves about 2 years to warp before we get here. So in the meantime, we are going to be doing a inclination change. Probably that inclination change will be around here-ish. So relatively shortly after our braking burn. Since we'll still be going in this direction. Yeah. I'm extremely pleased with this orbit, actually. Sure, I mean, I think we're a little bit closer over here than we are over here, but that sort of eccentricity really, really doesn't matter for what I'm trying to do. And we're able to insert ourselves with only a 1200 meter per second cost here. We don't have to reverse the directionality of our orbit once we're here, so yeah, this is way more efficient than last time we went to BOP. Consider those lessons learned. We've also apparently got 2000 Delta V in our Sky Crane. How did that happen? I was under the impression that we had 300. Did MechJeb lie to me in the VAB? I do believe it did. Well done, MechJeb. Anyway, we do have another year to warp here. And we are making decent progress on that. Pretty soon, our non-relay antenna on this thing should be switching over to connecting to these relay antennas rather than to the KSC directly, I think. It is already hopping over to Dress now. Okay, so now we've got a Dress relay set up. Fantastic. And we do have another 300 days before we are ready for this burn. This will be a 1200 meter per second burn, so it'll be, what, about a 10-ish minute burn? That won't be too bad. I don't think we're going to be getting to the landing this episode, though, unfortunately. Because what we need to do is we need to get into low orbit over BOP. So we're going to need to do our braking burn. We're going to need to do an inclination change. We're going to need to do a Hohmann transfer. We're going to need to do a second braking burn. We're going to need to circularize-ish, probably down below low orbit. And then once we are at low orbit, we'll transmit a bunch of science. And then once we're there, we will do a... I would call it an entry burn, but there's no atmosphere to enter. So I guess I'll call it a landing burn, and then we'll need to do the actual landing. All of that's going to happen in longer than 15 minutes. There's not really any doubt about that one. But that's how this is going to have to play out. So this is definitely going to be at least a 2-episode mission. I don't think it'll stretch into 3 episodes, though, considering we're already in the Joule system. Okay. So here we are. We are about to perform our braking burn in the Joule system. And then we will, of course, do our inclination change. That is the next step. I'm going to go ahead and physics warp, if MechJeb will let me. Yes, it will. Excellent. And as expected, about a 10-minute burn. That's fine. We are, of course, on an escape trajectory, and we have 65 days to stop that. Considering we only need 10 minutes, that's not really an issue. This is going to burn off a fair amount of our nuclear engine Delta V, but honestly, I'm deeply unconcerned about that. Like, we're going to be using our nuclear engine for a significant amount of our landing maneuverings. We have a lot of Delta V here. We do not need to redesign this particular rocket for anything in the Joule system, I think. We are safe to get anywhere in this thing. Especially with having 2,000 Delta V in our Sky Crane. Like, that's insane. If I had known we had that much, I would have dropped this T200. Like, we've hauled it a long ways, and a lot of it's probably going to go to waste. But, I mean, it'll probably come in handy when we're trying to land somewhere a bit more massive than BOP. Like Lathe. It might come in handy on Lathe. Our thrust to weight over Joule is, of course, 1.04, but over BOP it'll be far, far higher with this Twitch liquid fuel engine. Well, this pair of Twitches. So yeah, I mean, all things considered, this is probably going to go pretty smoothly. There's no atmosphere to be worried about, so it's purely a matter of getting the braking done. But, of course, first we have to be in orbit over BOP. That is step 1. So as soon as this maneuver is completed, I'm going to go ahead and set target as BOP. And then I am actually not feeling hugely lazy, so I'm not going to do a MechJeb match planes. I'm just going to do it myself. Because that'll be exciting. Well, exciting for me. And there we go. Fantastic. Okay, set BOP as target. We are off by 14 degrees. We should probably burn at the ascending node. So right here. And we need to go down. Gotcha. 3, 2, 1. And negative 0.1. Can we get any better than that? I mean, we don't need to. That'll be good enough. Okay. Now that is going to adjust our orbit slightly. So I would like to burn a little bit retrograde at the same time. That brings us off by about half a degree, though. So let's take this in. There we go. I mean, that puts us right back where we were. Let's call that good. Yeah, actually, that's about right. Our apoapsis is going to change pretty substantially, but that looks fine, honestly. It puts us a little bit eccentric, but BOP is a little bit eccentric too. So let's go ahead and execute that. We will be in position for that soon. And that'll be 280 meters per second, so a very, very brief burn. Should probably turn on brakes before I forget, but we can't do that while warping, apparently. So as soon as this warp is over, which it is ending right now, I will remember to turn on brakes. It's always a bad idea to land without your brakes on. You just kind of go careening all over. Okay, brakes on. Fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and physics warp this burn. It's going to be about a 2-minute burn. And our inclination is changing. Fantastic. Now I am curious to see if MechJeb can actually resolve a Hohmann transfer here. Like, is it just bugged on BOP or something? Or... I don't know. I kind of want to find out. So let's try a Hohmann transfer to target. Yeah. Our eccentricity is actually below 0.2, but whatever. Eccentricity 0.4? No. It's 0.197. What is wrong with you, MechJeb? You have big problems with BOP. Okay, let's see what it does. Yup. It's still doing that same thing. Okay. Well. Let's see if we can get a decent encounter, shall we? Let's see. Target position would be here. We would be here. So if we do it earlier... Can we get close? The answer is not particularly. Okay, so let's go ahead and do an orbit then. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll orbit around. Okay. What do we got now? We'll add a maneuver here. Retrograde it up. Do we need to do another orbit? We may need to do another orbit. Let's see. I mean, we could do something insane like that, but I think we're better off to do another orbit. Okay. So around we go again. All because MechJeb can't be bothered. Okay, let's see here. What do we got? Now that is looking much better. Yeah. Much, much better. There's an encounter. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Focus on BOP. Okay, that inclination is a little wacky, but that's fine. I can work with that. I think that's fine, as is. Let's execute that. Get ourselves an insertion into BOP orbit. That was an interesting way to say BOP. Into BOP orbit. I really can't reproduce it. So let's get ourselves an insertion into BOP orbit. And once we are here, I don't really care what direction we're going. So once we're here, we're just going to do a braking burn at the periapsis, bring ourselves down to low orbit, and then we'll do an orbit once there. I don't know why MechJeb hates BOP. Maybe it's just the eccentricity? I don't know, it's kind of weird. BOP is in a kind of weird orbit. There's no doubt about that. Okay, so we will be getting this burn completed. And then as soon as that is done... There we go. Did anyone else see that really brief encounter, like, a lot earlier than this one? Whatever, we don't need the Delta V. Add this maneuver here, and let's just go ahead and retrograde brake. And let's bring this down. I don't know what low BOP orbit is, but I guarantee you it's below 100 kilometers. We'll just sit at 100 for now for warping purposes. Execute that node. And I'm fine with this eccentricity not being, you know, exactly where we might want it to be equatorially. I really don't care. So that's going to be in 8 days. And then we're going to need to check where the actual low orbit is, and then get ourselves an orbit there. Do an orbit and grab ourselves the low orbit science. And then once that is done, then we'll be ready to land. This has been a bit of a production. No doubt about that. Okay, so this burn will be not particularly lengthy. About a 1-minute burn. That is not bad. Of course, this has been a kind of lengthy mission. 4 years. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to get these rovers done immediately, is because we only have 40 years to get these done. And of course, this is taking like 4 years per mission. Okay, so the low orbit flight engineer, what is it? 25 kilometers. Well, that's going to be awkward for warping purposes. Okay, so at the periapsis, let's go ahead and bring it on down. To be below 25 kilometers. It says minimum safe is 24.5, so if we go up to just above that, right at about, well, not there, but right at about 24.6 or so. 24,750 should be plenty. No, too sensitive. 24,750 should be good. There, that'll be fine. Execute that. 48.5 meters per second. We've still got way too much delta V in this thing. Kind of overkill. But that's okay. So we do have a communication satellite in orbit over this thing. So if we need to stow this, the major antenna that we've got on this, the question is, do we still have a solid connection? And the answer will be probably, but only when we have LOS to this satellite. Which will be most of the time. Of course, we do have quite a few other things in the Julian system that we can talk to. But let's go ahead and burn here. Get ourselves on down. Excellent. I am going to physics warp that burn. We don't need any in-space high science, so let's just go ahead and do a circularize at the next periapsis. And let's double check. Yep, that puts us exactly where we want to be. Fantastic. And let's physics warp the turn. And then we'll just regular warp over there. We'll see where we can warp to in terms of speed. It's not going to be super fast, is the answer. This orbit is going to take a while for the low orbit. Might do that off camera, I don't know. Maybe not. Okay, we'll be doing this burn momentarily. We should also do our temperature scan and transmit. Atmospheric pressure scan. No, not another temperature scan. Atmospheric pressure scan. Transmit that. There we go. And then we'll do... Actually, we're not going to do a mystery goo observation. We will do a gravity scan, though. Go ahead and transmit that. Excellent. Okay, so we now need some time. Let's go ahead and kill rot. And in the meantime, I do think that we should extend our solar panels here. We'll have to remember to put them back later, but I do want extra power coming in. Just because We used almost all of our charge there. Okay, so we are at 24,754, 24,782. Good enough. So we'll go ahead and add a maneuver here to mark where our orbit location is. And we will warp up. Please do allow us to stop warping. Gravity scan. Transmit. That'll burn up a lot of our batteries, but we're good. Okay, let's keep on a-warping. Peaks, we're good. Don't need peaks. Slopes, we're good. Don't need slopes. Ridges. Actually, we do need ridges. Valley, we still need valley too. So transmit that. We missed ridges. We'll get it again. Okay, there we go. Ridges. We will take this. We will keep it. Slopes we have. Just the only reason we're keeping it is because we don't really have the power to transmit it. Peaks we already have. Okay, now we have the power to transmit it. So let's go ahead and transmit. We didn't get any extra data, so that's, you know, good. If I can click on the antenna. Oh, there it is. Transmit data. Fantastic. Okay. What else do we have? Still peaks. Lots and lots of peaks. That's slopes. Don't need that. Ridges. Don't need that. Valley. Don't need that. Ridges. We're good. Slopes. We're good. Ridges. We're good. Valley. Okay. I think we have everything. I don't remember any other biomes, at least in the orbit of our orbiter. This, of course, is a different matter entirely, because it's a different orbit. But we are basically around 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We're good. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here, and next episode, we will be landing this thing. See you all then.